If you aren't living a life that feels good to you, it's because you are missing the master key that will allow you to create a beautiful life that makes you feel happy and fulfilled and that feels in alignment with you. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what that master key is, why it's going to make such an impact in your life, and how you can start to bring it into your life and get the results that you desire. So the first thing that we have to address is our sense of identity. So our identity is really the stories and the beliefs and the habits that we tell ourselves and that we have and that we embody. It's really the way that we see ourselves. And so when we don't feel good about our lives, likely we're not seeing ourselves with a lot of status. We're not seeing ourselves in really positive light. We probably have a really loud inner critic, and we're not seeing ourselves as this expansive version of ourselves that would have the life and be living the life and have the relationships and have these feelings that we desire to have. So here's a little visual on what this is going to look like, right? We've got our current identity, where we're at right now. When we're not living life in a way that really feels good, likely we don't have a very expansive identity. We're right in here, okay? But on the flip side, there's also a really expansive version of ourselves, and that's our expansive identity. It's just an expanded version of ourselves. But like I was just sharing, our identity is really just the way that we see ourselves. It's not anything that's set in stone and concrete about ourselves. It's the stories that we tell ourselves. It's the habits that we have and the stories that we tell ourselves based on the habits that we have. And it really has so much to do with how we grow up, what we're taught about ourselves, our family, our school system, just an overall environment that we're raised in, right? Nature versus nurture. So much of our identity is in that nurture phase. We just learn so much about ourselves. I mean, imagine you, right, growing up in a completely different part of the world with a completely different family. In the same body, you look the exact same, but you're growing up in a completely different experience. Likely, you would see yourself differently, right? So that's our identity. It's something that's fluid. It's not something that's set in stone. And so we've got a version of ourselves that's really contracted, that doesn't feel good. We don't have positive thoughts about ourselves. And then we have an expansive version of ourselves that feels amazing, that feels really good about ourselves, that has the things in our life that we desire, right? Those versions of you exist right now. See, what happens is when we expand our identity, when we get to this place where we do feel really good about our lives, we start to attract better things into our lives that are in more alignment with the things that we want, right? Money, relationships, our dream home, being able to travel, doing all these cool things that feel good to us or whatever feels good to you. So another way to view this is viewing it as a spiral. And we can see this as looking at the spiral from the top, right? Up here, we have our expansive identity, where we have the things in our life that we desire, where we're living in alignment, we feel really good. And down here, we're in this current identity where we feel a little bit more contracted. Life just isn't really exactly what we want it to be, right? But notice how we can just move up this spiral, right? And expand and achieve the life that we really desire and that feels really good for us, okay? But the key is that these are not separate. This version of you that you're feeling right now, or maybe it's up here, is not any separate from this version of you up here. It's all based on our identity. It's the stories that we tell ourselves. It's the part of ourselves that we're connected to. It's the habits that we have in our life that move us up and down the spiral. These are just opposite polarities of the same thing, right? Down here, we maybe have a negative polarity, and up here, we have a positive polarity. So a good way to think about how these things are interconnected is the difference between hot and cold. Hot and cold are the same thing, just an expression in a different degree. We've got the scale from hot and cold, but what really defines cold and what really defines hot, right? There's an overlap. They're the same thing, just expressed in a different degree. Here is just a different degree than over here. And so this expansive version of you is just a different degree of this version of you right now. So this exists within you right now. It's just about awakening it within you. Now, what is the master key to all of this, to moving up this spiral, to expanding our identity, to living a life that feels really good and in alignment, where we're actually excited about the things that are happening? The key is confidence. Confidence in yourself is what will move you up the spiral here. Learning how to believe in yourself and love yourself and not worry about what everyone else is thinking about you, and getting so out of control in your mind and never having this ease and peace of mind will move you up to be living a life that feels way better to you, that feels more in alignment, where you're actually getting the results that you want and you feel good about. Imagine if you right now had the confidence that you dreamed of. Would you be living life different? Would it feel different? Would you have different outcomes? Would you have more money? Would you have better relationships? Think about that. It's such an innate recognition where you just feel, yeah, absolutely. If I had more confidence in myself, confidence in my abilities, confidence in me going out in public and being able to handle myself, confidence that I show up for myself, confidence in the way that I speak, confidence in who I am and my sense of goofiness and my authenticity. If we had all of those things in our life, then we're going to move through life with more ease. It's going to be smoother, and it's just going to overall be more fun. So if we want to unlock a life that feels incredible, we must develop confidence in ourselves. This is the domino that when we have confidence, everything else will begin to fall in place. So how do we build confidence? Well, I look at confidence differently than a lot of people look at it. So rather than thinking that confidence is something that we don't already have and that we have to achieve confidence, confidence is something that we awaken within ourselves. Again, when we're down here, this version of ourselves, the most confident version of ourselves, is already within us. We exist on the same scale, just as hot and cold. We're just in a different degree. So what we need to do is we need to polarize ourselves from the negative to the positive. So it's all about awakening this innate confidence that's already in you right now. If you don't feel confident in yourself, it doesn't mean you're not confident. I believe that confidence is deep in our core at birth. Confidence is our truth. Confidence is our birthright, and everyone deserves to live confidently because confidence is really who we are at the core. Now, the first step to awakening this confidence that's already within you is to energize. We need to get our energy right. So what we focus on is our life force energy. This is this underlying energy that's within us, that's flowing through, and it's really sustaining us and keeping us alive. So we need to start focusing on things that will really help us develop this energy. That's going to start with getting the relationship you have with your body right, because we are beings that are existing within this vessel that is still a physical body. And we evolved for millions of years to be healthy, to be athletic, to survive in the wild. And yet we've strayed so far from what our bodies evolved to be consuming and how our bodies evolved to act. So what we need to do is start living more in alignment with what our body is actually going to be sustained by. And this is going to be organic, healthy, clean foods. This is going to be moving our bodies consistently. If it's not going to the gym 5 days a week, 7 days a week, just get outside and go for more walks. We got to start getting a relationship with our body right, so that then we can have this life force energy. We're starting to unblock that energy within us and get it flowing. And that's going to help us right here. It's almost like a wind tunnel, right? Those indoor wind tunnels. Imagine that you had a fan that was underneath. If we had a fan, it'd be so much easier to rise up the spiral, right? Think about our life force, this first step, energizing, as getting that fan going to make this whole process so much easier. So we got to get our relationship with our body right. Step 2 then is to awaken. So what does it mean to awaken? Well, now we've got this fan going. Now we're starting to get some energy and being able to move up this spiral. What we want to start doing now is starting to wake up this confidence. Like in the morning when someone comes to wake you up, they start kind of nudging you and pushing you. So then you open your eyes and then you can start stretching and you get out of bed and then you start moving, right? So what we want to do is kind of start poking that confidence a little bit. We just start to wake it up from the slumber that it's been in deep within you. And we do this by focusing on 2 things. One is creating clarity in your life. So many people go through life just kind of following this path that we're funneled down, that everyone else tells us that we're supposed to do. Oh, this is the job that you're going to make money in. Everyone goes to high school. Everyone goes to college. You got to study hard and get this degree or else you won't be successful, right? We just watch society. It just funnels us through the system. And most people never stop to think, what do I really want to do with my life? All limitations aside, my parents' influence, my employer's influence, the government's influence aside, what do you want to do with your life? What is exciting to you? Without a compelling future that feels in alignment with who we are and what we want to do, we're just never going to really feel that confident in ourselves because we're always going to be living out of alignment. So we want to start tuning into what your reason for being on this planet is, what your purpose is on this planet, and creating a vision for yourself that's in alignment with this and that feels good to you. And by doing that, we're starting to poke and prod at that confidence that's within us, and it's going to start to really awaken it. And then what we do is we start to develop a relationship with yourself. Now, this is not our little s self, which is really the identity that we've created for ourselves. This is the big S self, the sense of you that is actually the truth of who you are. Now, this one's hard for people to understand at first, but it's so powerful. And most practices, most gurus that are going to talk about confidence with you and help you start to level up your life aren't ever going to help you develop this true relationship with your big S self. But this is the secret sauce that's behind all of this. And so that part of you is the part of you that's aware, okay? So think about this marker right here. I'm looking at this marker, but I know that I'm not this marker. I'm the subject here. This marker is the object. It's very clear that I'm not this. Now, the same relationship is going for the thoughts that I have in my head right now. I notice thoughts. I might even close my eyes and be able to imagine a future and be able to see images. But when we are doing that, oftentimes we think, because it's in our head and we can't actually tangibly see our thoughts, we think that that's us. But it's not. It's the same relationship that I have with this marker. I am the one that is observing the thoughts. I'm the one that hears the thoughts. I'm the one that sees those images in my head and registers that they're there. I am simply the awareness behind all of it. The thoughts in my head are just objects in my consciousness, and I am pure consciousness itself. I could go into the weeds on this all day long, but what I want you to just take away from this is that you are not your thoughts. You're not all the stories that you've told yourself. That's a part of our little s self that's really created by our ego. The big S self, the truth of who you are, is simply consciousness itself, simply awareness itself. And when we can start grounding ourselves in this part of us, we're grounding ourselves in a more whole part of us, a part of us that is pure confidence itself. And so we're starting to, again, prod and poke and awaken this confidence within us. Now, step 3 is to unblock. So now that we've started awakening this confidence in us, we've got our life force energy flowing. We've got some more clarity and a connection with our true self. Now we need to start unblocking the things that are really just keeping this confidence kind of at bay within us. That's going to be things like the stories that are part of our identity now that are holding us back, the limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves, the habits that we have that aren't in alignment with this expansive version of ourselves. It's going to be all of the stories and the traumas that we're having a hard time letting go of. So we want to start letting go of these things. We want to get clear on them. We want to start getting that negative energy that's within us that we store from those traumatic experiences out of our body. And so we start flowing that out. So now it's almost like when we think about a river, we put a dam up and we block the rest of the water, or at least most of the water, from coming through. Right? So imagine it's like we're taking out that dam and we're letting things flow through. We're letting that confidence flow up rather than blocking it. So we're going to unblock now whatever is really keeping that confidence from fully awakening and rising up and being a part of our life. So step 4 is then to expand. So now we're really expanding and we're getting clear on what that expansive version of ourselves looks and feels like. So we've got the energy flowing, we've awakened that confidence, we've unblocked it and cleared a path for that confidence to flow into our lives in all ways, and now we expand with that confidence. Now we start getting the results that we really desire in our life. And all along the way, especially if we're down here, think about this as exponential growth. This is not linear where it just goes up in a line like this. This is exponential where over time it compounds on itself and we go and we grow faster and faster and faster as we move up. So even the lack of confidence that we have down here versus the amount of confidence that we have right here on this spiral is going to be dramatic, and it's going to make a big impact on your life. You're going to feel it naturally. Each step of the way, it's going to get more and more expansive. And when we're up here, we're really stepping into that expanded identity, that version of ourselves that was in us the whole time, that's so confident in ourselves, in the way that we interact with the world, in the way that we show up, in what we're doing, in the dream that we're creating, right? And we've created so much alignment within us, and we've really just, again, awakened the confidence When we're down here, this exists within us right now, within you right now. And it's confidence that's going to be the key to actually starting to live the life that you dream of, that feels good, that feels smooth, that feels light, right? Have you ever seen someone that's just so confident in themselves where you can look at them and they look light, they look tall, they look smooth, they don't look like they're worried about what people are thinking, they stay in their own frame. And it's this magnetic feeling when you look at people. And this is what I've been able to create in my life. I used to be a socially anxious college student that was worried about the future. I remember having panic attacks in my kitchen because I didn't think I had the confidence to be a manager at McDonald's, right? So I had so much fear and I didn't feel good about myself. I was turning down date parties and all of these things in my life. And now I have a following of nearly 500,000 people. My content has reached over 20 million people. I'm going on podcasts. I'm traveling to Vegas. I'm traveling to Miami. My life has changed so drastically. Why? Because I awakened the confidence that was already within me. And I've done so using these 4 steps. And nobody else helps people do this better than I do, because most people's approach to confidence is that, again, we don't already have it within us, and so we're trying to get something. It's all outcome based. What I do is help you awaken the thing that you already have within you. And so easy. Instead of taking years and years and spending years in therapy and years in self-improvement, self-development, and doing all these things, I've done the work for you. And I figured out a framework that works better than most therapies, that works better than years in self-development, that you can actually awaken this and move up the spiral in 3 months and start getting to a point where you feel so good about where you're at and where you're going in life. And if we get one life on this planet, why not live confidently? Why not live in alignment with what our true self actually is? Instead of being so stuck down and bogged down by all these negative stories in this version of ourselves that's not confident, when we could just become the version of ourselves that is confident. And I'm one of the best at helping people do this. And that's what my content is all about. That's what my channels are all about. And that is my mission in life. So if you've watched this far in the video, I just want to say how much I appreciate you. I'm grateful for your energy, for your time sticking around. And if you did, it would mean the world to me to like this video, subscribe for more content like this, and comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know the kind of videos that you want to see. And until next time, you're welcome.